Business owners affected by recent flood rains to get special assistance from government. Information Minister says government is concerned about rising food prices and is discussing possible solutions to the problem. And Indicom investigating fatal shootings of 2 men in the western end of the island. And now the details. Business owners affected by recent flood rains who do not have insurance are to get special assistance from the government. The pledge was made by local government minister Desmond Mckenzie as he toured affected areas of St. Anne, St. Mary and Portland today. Mr. Mckenzie said teams from the ministry, along with representatives from other government entities, are continuing assessments. While Portland had mainly damage to agriculture, St. Mary had significant structural damage to include small business operations. The minister said data is being collected in order to make a submission to cabinet. Meantime, the Labour Ministry is leading the relief efforts for victims of recent heavy rains and flooding in St. Anne, St. Mary and Portland last month. The initiative is being done in collaboration with humanitarian partners. The ministry said 850 households have been assessed to date. St. Mary experienced the majority of damages, especially in the communities of Pagy, Port Maria, Jacks River, Baileysville and Boscobel. The ministry said it distributed 370 food packages along with over 450 mattresses and hygiene supplies and sanitation kits to affected citizens. The ministry has assured that it is committed to assisting persons affected by the flood. It said it will continue to monitor and investigate reports of damage and provide necessary emergency support where necessary. The National Environment and Planning Agency, NEPA, has issued 2 environmental permits to Noranda Jamaica Bauxite Partners for the mining of over 1,300 hectares of land in St. Anne. The permits were issued to Noranda Bauxite Partners on February 7. Shanice Gibbs reports.
In a release today, NEPA confirms that the permits are for a limited geographical area consisting of 1,333 hectares of land. It says the permits include the GPS coordinates for the boundaries of the area released. The first environmental permit allows for the mining and quarrying of bauxite, peat, sand, minerals including aggregates, construction and industrial material, metallic and non-metallic ores, while the second allows for the clearing of 6 hectares or more of vegetation, excluding agricultural holdings under production. NEPA notes that the permit for mining contains 75 conditions, while the permit for the clearing of vegetation has 50 conditions. It says the conditions include mitigation measures to address impacts on biodiversity, water resources, and heritage sites and features. Air quality and socio-economic impacts are also addressed. Noranda Jamaica Bauxite Partners is also mandated to post an environmental performance bond, establish grievance mechanisms, and operate a complaints register. NEPA says the environmental permits have been circulated to the Water Resources Authority, Forestry Department, Jamaica National Heritage Trust, Mines and Geology Division, and the Ministry of Health and Wellness, which will be integrally involved in the monitoring and enforcement of the permits. It adds that the agency is preparing an interagency monitoring framework to guide collaboration among the agencies. Reporting for IRFM News, I'm Shanice Gibbs.
And in response to the approval from NEPA, Noranda Bauxite Partners said while the significant further reduction of mining lands is meaningful conservatory step, it could be detrimental to the future business longevity of the company in Jamaica. Noranda said it is important to note that Special Mining Lease 173 is currently in its third and smallest form, having been reduced from 8,335 hectares to what is now permitted as only 1,324 hectares. It said of this permitted area, it will only be operating in 254 hectares for the development of roads and related bauxite mining, and none of this is in the Cockpit Country Protected Area or near maroon communities. Noranda noted that it was the first company to agree to support the government establishment of the Cockpit Country Protected Area and fully supports its formal gazetting. It stated that it is prepared to move forward mining with within the permitted area and will not appeal the permit decision respecting NEPA's process. Daranda added that it will continue constructive dialogue towards compromise and fair outcomes. Cabinet has given approval for the declaration of the cockpit country protected area. Minister without portfolio Robert Morgan said the approval was granted through specific policy directives that would declare the boundaries of the cockpit country protected area as well as the environmental permits related to Special Mining Lease 173 to be issued to Nalanda Jamaica Bauxite Partners. He also announced the Global Environment Facility Project, entitled also known as the Cockpit Country Project.
Under the Natural Resources Conservation Authority Act, we also got the approval for the Government of Jamaica United Nations Development Program Global Environment Facility Project entitled Conserving Biodiversity and Reducing Land Degradation using an integrated approach to be implemented over a 6-year period. Cabinet also approved the government's co-financing commitment in cash to the project of US $43.1 million in the 2022-2023 fiscal year and forward years to facilitate implementation of project activities.
Information Minister Robert Morgan. Motorists will be paying more for petrol at the pumps effective tomorrow. Petrojam has indicated that a litre of ethane 87 and 90 gasoline will cost $3.06 more, while automotive diesel oil will cost $4.50 more. Ultra-low sulfur diesel and kerosene will each cost $3.06 more a litre. As for cooking gas, a litre of propane LPG will cost 41 cents more. The only product to see a price drop is butane LPG, going down by 25 cents a litre. Petrojam said the price increases in the USA have been influenced by a tight supply situation created by geopolitical tensions in Russia and Ukraine. The concern is that Russia will react to potential Western sanctions by withholding crude oil from the already tight global market and have placed heavy upward pressure on oil prices, which has in turn impacted pump prices. Information Minister Robert Morgan said the government is concerned about the rising food prices affecting citizens and is discussing possible solutions to the problem. There have been increases in the cost of several food items, including poultry, in recent times. Mr. Morgan, in noting the issue is a global one, said recent damage to farms as a result of heavy rains could have a great impact on citizens. He assured that the government is acutely concerned about the situation.
What I want to offer this morning is for the public to be aware that the government is acutely concerned about the increasing prices globally, which is having an impact on prices locally. And if you would have looked over the last couple weeks, you'd have seen the Prime Minister and the Minister of Finance and the Minister of Agriculture raising concerns about things such as the rise in chicken prices, about the rise in bank fees, and also the impact that floods have had on our farmers, which also may lead to increases in prices at the local market. So it's something that in the corridors of government and at the highest level, led by the Prime Minister, it is being discussed, and there are constant discussions about what to do to assist local consumers to deal with what is to some extent an unprecedented period in our global markets that is impacting them.
Information Minister Robert Morgan, he was responding to questions during this morning's post-cabinet press briefing. 7 more people have died from COVID-19 related complications, pushing the country's death toll past 2,700. The death toll is now 2,706. The latest deaths occurred between January and February this year. More in the report from Maisha Brody.
The deceased are 4 males and 3 females, ranging in age from 60 to 89 years. 6 of them lived in St. Catherine, while the other lived in Kingston and St. Andrew. Meantime, new cases have fallen below 100 for the first time in weeks, with 87 cases. Of the new cases, 49 are females and 38 are males. They range in age from 1 week to 98 years. Kingston and St. Anne recorded the highest number of cases with 23, followed by St. Catherine with 19. The country's case count is now 126,437. The positivity rate is 15.6%. 367 persons are in hospital. Among them, 43 are severely ill, 10 are critically ill, and 88 are moderately ill. 159 more persons have recovered, pushing the tally to 71,977. Reporting for IRFM News, I'm Maisha Brody.
The Independent Commission of Investigations, INDECOM, is investigating the fatal shootings of two men in the western end of the island. In a release today, INDECOM confirmed that it responded to and began investigations into a police fatal shooting of a man in Amity, Westmoreland yesterday. The deceased has been identified as 30-year-old Dane Weatherburn, who was described by his relatives as being of unsound mind. It's reported that police officers were on assignment in the Cypress Corner area when they approached a naked man who was seen along the roadway. A struggle allegedly ensued between one of the officers and the man when the private firearm of the police officer was discharged. Wedderburn was pronounced dead at the Savannah Lamar Hospital. INDECOM said it processed the incident scene to include the collection of forensic exhibits and the firearm of the concerned officer. Initial interviews and witness canvassing were also conducted by the investigative team. Meantime, the commission was advised of another fatal shooting incident today, resulting in the death of another man in the western region. He has been identified as Tevin Stewart. INDECOM said a team was dispatched to commence investigation into the joint police military incident which occurred in St. James. It noted that today's incident represents the fourth fatal shooting by the police for the month of February. A man was fatally shot and 3 firearms seized during operations in Salt Spring, St. James this morning. The man, who was reportedly killed during a confrontation with security forces, has been identified as Tevin Stewart, otherwise called Pete, an alleged top-tier member of the G-City gang. Police say the leader of the gang is currently before the court on a gun-related charge. Meantime, 2 firearms and a quantity of ammunition were seized by the Joint Police Military Team during the initial operation. Later, an M16 rifle with a magazine containing 60 rounds of ammunition was also seized as the security forces intensified operations in the area.